Hello, you motorcycle maniacs. Today, we're going to take apart the carburetor of a 1994 Yamaha DT125 together. The model is called 3M, that's the motorcycle model. And before we get started, I'll show you what tools we'll need. We'll need a small, powerful flashlight. Sometimes it's really handy for looking inside. A slim punch and drift punch, basically, that's what it is. A 6mm open-end ring spanner, a 14mm open-end ring spanner, a Phillips screwdriver size PH2, a 4mm flathead screwdriver, and a pair of needle nose pliers. Alright, let's get started. Okay folks, you've already removed the slide. Otherwise, it would just hang on the motorcycle, so to speak. Here is the cover, the spring, and this small plastic piece. This keeps the Bowden cable from slipping out. If you look inside now, you'll see down there 2 Phillips screws. You can see them, fantastic. To remove the part load needle, you need to unscrew these 2 Phillips screws. I'll show you how to do it. Let's do it together quickly now. Both screws need to come out, and they're pretty long too. Phillips PH2. So, the screws are unscrewed. Now you can either carefully press the needle onto the surface, or, of course, you can reach in here with needle nose pliers and take out this fastening element. That's what it looks like. And now you can take out the part load needle here. I'll show you that quickly. This is the correct assembly order. So, there's a washer on top, then the clip, and then another washer underneath. And that's how the needle can be adjusted. On the carburetor itself, I start by removing the choke. You'll need the 14mm open-end wrench, and you can give yourself a little more space by opening the choke. Now you have to loosen this hex here with the 14mm open-end wrench. There's not a ton of space here, but it works if you position it properly. As you can see, it's already turning. The choke is completely unscrewed and can now be pulled out as a whole upwards. You don't need to disassemble this part any further. Now we'll continue with the float. Oh right, let me show you this real quick. It just fell out here. There's a small screen sitting in the fuel inlet tube. Let me show you that real quick. It's sitting in here. That just happened when turning it around, it fell out. Please take it out and set it aside. The float is secured with 3 Phillips screws, these ones right here. What should I actually do if the screw head is damaged, if the Phillips slot is gone? There are several possible solutions for that. I'll show you 2 of them in the video, which you'll see now in the top right corner, in case you run into this problem. These screws are fine. I'll unscrew these 3 now, and then we'll continue. I've unscrewed the 3 screws, and now the float can come off. However, there's still a connection here with this hose, on the outside here, so here you need to carefully pull it off. You could also carefully use a large screwdriver to help with this. So, the gasket definitely needs to be replaced. I can see that right now. So, we've got the cover off, and now we'll move right on to the jets. There's another plastic molded part here. It's just plugged in. So you need to carefully pull it upwards. Oh, that's really stuck on there. That's what it looks like. And then here we have the main jet, and inside here is the idle jet. I'll start with the idle jet. You'll need a 4mm flathead screwdriver, and with that you can remove the small idle. jet here. Once it's loose, just take it out of the carburetor. There you go, that's what it looks like. And now you'll need the 6mm open-end ring spanner for the main jet. That's a 6mm hex. Loosen the main jet, and underneath the main jet there's also a small washer. I'll just lay it out here for you. That's what it looks like. Without it, we'll move right on to the float. Let's continue with removing the float. The float is mounted here with a small axle and a small pin, and this pin is just pushed in. And now I'm going to push it out here with my drift punch. If it happens to be stuck and you need to tap it out, please be very, very careful. The material here isn't very durable. You can easily break off this retaining tab in no time. The pin is out. And now you can lift the float off upwards. The float needle valve is attached to the float. And now I'm going to remove it. Just pull it off the little metal tab at the back here. And then we can set this aside. And in the next step, the inlet part of the float needle valve will be disassembled. This is secured here with a small shaped part and a Phillips screw, again PH2. So, you can use needle nose pliers here to remove the small screw and the little retaining plate. This is what it looks like. So this just holds the inlet part of the float needle valve in place. And then you can pull it out with the pliers here. There's an O-ring installed here for sealing. It's important that if you don't have a new one and need to reuse it, please don't grab it like this. Scratches can cause it to stick in the end, so carefully grab it from the outside and take it out. In any case, this will be replaced. The O-ring also definitely needs to be replaced. I'll set this aside here, and then we're almost done. Now we'll continue with the idle mixture screw. Here, in this recess, sits the idle mixture screw. Now, unscrew it here. Of course, you can also first screw it in and count the turns to see what the previous setup was. Otherwise, I'll also include the basic settings in the video description for you. Please be so kind, if you're watching the video, definitely take a quick look at the video description. Because if anything else comes up about this carburetor later on, or if I happen to have forgotten something, I'll add that information there as well. Alright, the screw comes out. This is what it looks like. If you've worked on a different carburetor before, you might notice that this one doesn't have such a sharp point. The tip here is a bit flat, but that's correct for this carburetor. And now, inside here, there's also a spring, a washer, and an O-ring. I just bent a small hook out of a paper clip for this. To get these out, here we have the spring. And then they sit in place. Inside here, there's also a steel washer and an O-ring. Here are both of them. I'll lay them out for you in the correct assembly order. So, this is the correct order. First the screw, then the spring, the washer, and then the O-ring. Alright, folks, with that we've disassembled the carburetor. You'll see the assembly video pop up at the top right now. I'm glad if you enjoyed it and found it helpful. Of course, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription from you. Have fun, good luck with your project, and see you in the next video.